Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to the latest RIABU podcast. RIABU, be first in line to get paid. It's 2022. What does the year portend? We don't know, but we can tell you this. If you follow the principles in our book, Let the Cash Flow, you can reduce overdue receivables, get paid on time, and improve relations with your customer. Let the Cash Flow, it's in all the bookshops and you can get it online. So I'd like to offer a very warm welcome to Anand Nanukutty, who is a very storied CFO. Anand, let me say, first of all, hold up your Let the Cash Flow. Anand has actually come with his own copy of Let the Cash Flow. I think that deserves a special award. Yep. We'll give you a free cup of coffee afterwards for that. Did I sign that?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, let me sign it afterwards. Yeah. So a very warm welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, the industry you work in?
Yeah, so I am a professional accountant, been in finance for more than 20 years. I am the CFO for 3 of the major markets for a major MNC in the FMCG industry. Essentially, I look after 3 markets and a bit of the exports business. Yeah.
Okay. When did you first come across receivables challenges in your career?
I think very early, probably my second job. So the first job I did was in audit and compliance. So there I came across receivables and the order to cash process from an audit perspective, auditor's point of view. But after that, I started managing financial processes and then, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we hope to drill into some of the lessons that you've learned over the years. Yeah. But you did bring Let the Cash Flow with you. Obviously, we wrote that, myself and Mark Lowdy, my business partner, we wrote that in an attempt to provide good advice to businesses that are facing receivables challenges, or in the case of startups, a set of principles that businesses can adopt that will ensure they don't get into receivables issues. Tell us how you felt. Was the book useful?
So I started reading it yesterday. Went through quite a bit of it, and what I find good about it is very practical, hands-on, and something that can be really implemented fairly easily. Set of principles, ideas which you can really apply. Doesn't talk about big tools to start with, although those have their place, but those are very hands-on, practical tips you could apply.
Good. So that's good to hear. That's certainly the intention, and indeed, we do have a section on how startups or SMEs can adopt the principles in the book. There are 8 principles in the book. You talk about big tools have their role. I mean, we are very concerned, I think, with the fact that a lot of the time when companies have receivables issues, they are being persuaded that the answer is technology. But technology has a big role to play. Let's be clear.
It's an enabler.
It's an enabler, but at the end of the day, it does not address the fundamental issues of how you get paid on time, which are primarily to do with the relationship and process. So let's focus in a little bit. So in the book, we have 8 principles of the virtuous revenue cycle. Did any of those principles or any aspects of the book appeal to you in particular?
So I think all of them have their place, and really a nice, well-rounded principle that you've laid down there. But maybe we can talk about the root causes. So I can just share whatever I've learned.
So yeah, root cause analysis. So to tell us a little bit about that.
So I think the most fundamental thing is to really measure what your how efficient your receivables are, and you lay down the principle of DSO and so on. And then you really need to have a loss tree of if there is a delta between what you ought to have had and what you actually have, and there's a difference between the two.
What we used to call a waterfall analysis.
Very simple waterfall or a loss tree analysis to say why is there a difference and what is causing that difference. So once you understand that, then you can find a solution. But
so why have we not been paid all the money that we should have been paid?
Exactly.
What were the main reasons?
Yes, that's where we start.
So what are some of the reasons that you find?
Oh well, lots and many different issues. So one is that you could have a huge number of issues related to process, number of different issues related to process, number of issues related to communication between the customer and your organization, several issues related to lack of reporting, lack of data, timeliness of data.
So there can be all sorts of issues.
All sorts of issues.
And if you don't resolve the issues, what happens?
I mean,
you don't get paid.
You don't get paid. You're
Yeah.
inefficient cash. You're going to pay for your working capital
and it
more and
damages
more.
your customer relationship.
For sure as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So identifying the issues sometimes requires that people other than finance get involved in resolving them. How easy is that?
many times it's hardly so finance. What finance does is to record, analyze. So essentially you're doing a post-mortem job, right?
Yeah.
You don't run the operation of dispatch, or sometimes you
manufacturing
don't.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, you don't, right? So therefore, many times the problems are embedded in the core processes themselves. So unless you fix it where it manifests, it's not going to get fixed. Whatever analysis you do later, analysis can tell you what the problem is.
So this is fixing the root cause. Because
Absolutely.
So there are two separate things. One is to get a specific invoice paid.
Correct.
You need to correct the transaction. So
Correct.
Any unmet customer expectation, which could be a mistake in the invoice, it could be a failure to meet the service requirement, it could be
claims, you didn't deliver on time, you couldn't have multiple n number of
So
issues.
deal with them, issue a correction if it's needed, and then that invoice gets paid. But what you're talking about is something much more
fix
profound,
the process.
Over time, you can learn what things keep happening.
Correct. And 90% is repeatable.
Okay.
I hardly find 5% new issues over a 2-year period.
Yes.
90% repeatable.
Well, we have a whole
It's the
chapter
same
in the book on a chap called Vilfredo Pareto, who came up with the 80-20 rule. Or
Yes.
He observed it.
Yes.
And if you list all the reasons why your invoices don't get paid, let's say there are 20 reasons, 20% of the reasons will cover 80% of your cash flow. So if there's 20 reasons, 4 root causes will be holding up 80% of your cash. So if you're clever and you make
those fixes,
right, then you can get paid on time. But making those fixes sometimes requires that you get people in the company to do things that they don't really want to do.
Yeah.
Is that always easy?
No, so I think you have to hold the mirror. So one of the roles of finance is holding the mirror on performance, on everything. So hold the mirror, show them the impact of this problem and how they can make a difference.
Because I mean, one of the things we do talk about in the book is something called the lost revenue factor, because there is a genuine problem which has been talked about by a number of people that have come here and talked to us about receivables, which is finance might be identifying the issue, but resolving what's going wrong so that you can get paid on time often lies with other functions, and often their main priority is not receivables, it's growing the business, manufacturing a product, or whatever it is. So getting their attention, and if you want to get their attention, one good way to do it is to list all the issues and list the amount of revenue that's being held up by individual issues.
Held up.
We call it lost revenue factor. 80-20 rule, chances are there are 4 or 5 things going wrong that are holding up 70 or 80% of the revenue that's being held up.
Correct.
Because people can't argue with a big number, right?
No.
Okay. So have you actually gone through this process in your current company?
Pre-COVID, we had a benchmarking exercise within our company, and we thought that there is room for improvement. And then we put down a process where the sales organization, the finance organization, and the route to market organization comes together every few weeks. In fact, in my operating unit, we do it every week. You're not going to believe me, every week. And we have a forum where we discuss it. So the first 3 months, people were not very happy. They thought it's a waste of time. Why am I sitting in it? All that. But in 6 months' time, when they really saw the changes we were making, they were very happy. Now it's reached a point where my overdues are really like 1 or 2% only, and they all are very happy. They were
1 or 2% is pretty good.
Very good.
I mean, interestingly, you mentioned benchmark. One of the things that RIABU are going to be doing in the course of 2022 is bringing out a benchmark which enables you to benchmark your DSO receivables performance against all your competitors and against the whole market based on the most current available data. So look out for that. Have a look at RIABU, look out for that, sign up for it. Getting the data is one thing, resolving the problem is another. Share with me some of the issues you've had in terms of actually getting these issues resolved.
So I think I can talk about 2-3 examples. One is essentially to have a good connect with the customer. So there we identified within the sales team 2 or 3 people who are going to be really focused on that. and we had our receivables team in finance, and they started really interacting on a regular basis to chase down all the issues. So, and then from that they keep learning why the issues crop up, and then that comes to forums, and then we try to solve the sort of processes. That was one. Another example is we always had this delivery problem. So your credit days are set based on a certain credit terms plus the number of days it takes for transit. Now the transit time sometimes varies, and there are lots of issues there. So that we saw was a root cause which emerged from our analysis. And then we enlisted the customer service team to say, guys, you need to make sure what we plan as delivery date is really what's happening. If not, monitor, come back, let's. So that was the second.
A classic example of root cause analysis.
Correct, because you wouldn't realize this was one big problem if we hadn't done the analysis. So that was the second. So like this, many things emerged.
This brings us to one of my favorite topics, and a topic which one of our other interlocutors discuss with us. How easy is it? Because very often in a large company, the relationship with the customer belongs largely with your sales organization. How easy is it to get the attention of the sales organization when it comes to receivables?
It is not easy at first, but the point is when you show them the impact and enlist their support, most of them really then start understanding the importance, and they'll help.
Do you find that you need to sort of coach them on how to have different conversations with the customer?
Yes, and we did some training, which we call finance for non-finance, right? So we picked up our supply chain people or customer service people or sales people and kind of explained to them, now if you don't do this properly, what are the sorts of impacts you're going to have? You're going
I'd love to see what you did. One of the things we do include in the book, because this is a hugely important area, are some templates for training that you can use for non-finance, particularly sales, but not just sales. So why does working capital matter at all? What are some of the practical things that you can do? How do you actually engage with the customer to talk about receivables in a non-adversarial way? Because for many people who've built their careers around just growing the business, which is a very good and noble thing to do, they might genuinely struggle to bring receivables into the conversation. The salesman might struggle to bring receivables into the conversation in a positive way. They often feel that it's kind of a negative thing, and the customer's not happy.
No, I think very most important principle that they should understand is cost of funds is in your price in some form, right? Now, if your efficiency on collection drops over a period of time, that's going to impact your profitability.
Good. So
it will get built back into price in some form, right? So you're going to have a problem anyway.
Yes. So it gets built back into price, both in terms of the actual operational cost of resolving the issue and getting paid, but also in terms of the carrying cost of the
money
funds.
Locked.
And by the way, interest rates are probably going to go up this year. So whatever your cost of funds are, they might be higher by the end of the year than they are now. Another good reason to get on top of.
And in developing markets, cost of funds are still good,
in India in particular.
12%.
We had a guy in here actually from India who was lamenting the challenges he had to get paid on time.
Yeah,
he was paying very high rates of interest for funding his receivables.
Correct.
Double-digit interest, And as always, whenever you and I talk, and I'm very impressed by the breadth of your knowledge, and I feel we could probably say more. So I hope when you've actually read the book completely that you'll come back and not just say what you like, but actually tell us what's missing, because we'll be doing another issue of Let the Cash Flow in 2022-23, and we want to make sure it's complete.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other advice that you would give to CFOs struggling with receivables? Now's your chance.
No, I think I would say formalize the process of looking at receivables, right? And make sure it is monitored as a formal process and KPI and a priority. That would be one single most important advice. But because once you do that, everything else will follow.
And
so
then
you will have a KPI,
including
you will have the data.
how you engage other parts of the organization.
Absolutely, it has to be an organizational priority, and you say you make sure all the parties are involved in that forum, formalize that forum, and once you do that, then you will automatically have data, you will automatically analyze the issues, then the root causes will follow. Other things will come through.
That all
from
sounds like really excellent advice, Anand. So one of the things we've done in the book, because this is excellent advice, but it has some wrinkles, is we provided templates of all of the things that you're likely to need to do the analysis, to design the process, to engage sales, to educate sales, to capture discrepancies, to know where to send them, how to measure your resolution performance, all of those things that we've agonized over the last 30 years. We've done it for you. It's in the book. So do have a look at Let the Cash Flow. Do come to RIABU.com and look at the things that we've got for you to help you get paid on time. It just remains for me to thank Anand Nanukutty. Thanks, Anand, for coming into the studio. Yeah.